Hi. It has been a very long time since I've sat in front of a camera, and I've actually tried to film this video already a couple of times. I am in London right now, sitting on my balcony. The weather here is glorious. It's 27, 28 degrees. We are having a bit of a heat wave at the moment, which looks like it's going to continue for a couple of weeks, which I personally love. I'm such a summer baby. And that is great for me because in just a few days, I am turning 30 years old. Ah! I distinctly remember when I turned 15 thinking, oh my god, I am halfway to 30, and being so freaked out by that it actually kind of ruined my day. I didn't really think I had that much time left before effectively my life was over. And I guess I thought that at 15, by the age of 30, I would have achieved all of the success that I was meant to have had in my life. Being at the peak of my career, having a house and a husband and £1 million. I'm not going to go into how millennials and Gen Zs have been systematically priced out of life and have longer periods of time to wait before they're able to achieve those things. There are plenty of other smarter people on YouTube that have made videos about that. I also know plenty of people at my age that already have those things, which is amazing. But I think in the last 15 years, my definition of success and what having a happy life is has drastically changed. And I think if I had continued on the trajectory that I had envisioned for myself at 15, I would not be in the place that I am today. For such a big part of my teenage years and in my early 20s, I was so scared of turning 30, but now I'm really excited for it. I'm not sure if this is possible, but just in case I'm able to reach through space and time and the physical constraints of this online medium, I would love to give 15-year-old me a massive hug and also tell her about some of the most important lessons that she will learn in the next decade and a half of her life. It is so hot outside. I don't know if this is a good idea. I'm sweating. I've got some ice water and I have a little fan in the air-conditioned bedroom, so I might just pop in there every so often, fan myself off a little bit. If I look a little bit windswept, that is why. Okay, here we go. Lesson number 1, embrace your sensitivity. I think the word that people would use to describe me most is sensitive. And for much of my life, I thought that this was my worst character trait or my biggest flaw. But I've come to realize that it is actually my greatest strength when I keep it in check. I was a huge crybaby as both a child and a teenager. It was seriously concerning. I would cry so much that I would make myself feel sick, that I would make myself feel faint. At one of my best friend's 18th birthday parties, I basically cried the whole night. I had drunk a whole bottle of Prosecco with one of my other best friends getting ready, and I don't think that helped. But I wasn't able to articulate why I was so upset. And actually, often I wasn't able to express my feelings and say what it was that was making me cry. I think as a teenager, I would blame it on my hormones or being sleep deprived or stressed out. And on reflection, I think crying was just my outlet for every single emotion on my spectrum, whether that was anger or frustration, hopelessness, stress, anxiety, embarrassment, even things like nostalgia, fear, and then obviously happiness and achievement too. I was also really incapable of expressing what I wanted, and I'll get onto this later, but I didn't feel that I could express my needs a lot as a child and as a teenager. And I was also so highly attuned to other people's emotions around me that I would just internalize everything and then simply burst. I'm obviously still sensitive and I still cry, but I have, through time and experience and practice, just learned how to harness my emotions so much better and how to let them out in different ways that are more appropriate or suitable. And being sensitive and having empathy and being emotionally intelligent is such a superpower. I'm a fabulous listener. I am really good at creating nurturing and comforting environments. I think I'm thoughtful and intuitive, and that makes me a really good problem solver. Obviously, you cannot be creative if you're not sensitive and empathetic, and I can communicate really healthily now. That hasn't always been the case. And speaking of healthy relationships, lesson 2 is grow, don't shrink. I had fallen into the trap, and I still have to check myself in this regard. The trap being that in order to be worthy of love, I needed to be as small as possible. Not just in a physical sense, but also an emotional one too. In past relationships, I consistently put other people's needs before my own. I prioritized that other person's comfort. I tried to make sure that we were always doing what the other person wanted to do. And I thought that if I expressed what it was that I actually wanted, it would make me less desirable. And especially as a teenager and in my early 20s, all I wanted to be was desired. I know that's really lame to admit, but it's the truth. There was one particular person that I was with where if I tried to ask for something for myself or ask to do something apart from what that person wanted to do, I would be made to feel bad about it or guilty. I don't know if that was their intention, but that is just how I felt, which would obviously lead me to feeling upset. And then I would work overtime to try and prioritize what it was that that person wanted to do, to try and amend the situation, thereby prioritizing that other person's needs again. It just became a vicious cycle. A little bit of a trigger warning, I'm also going to be talking about body image and body dysmorphia. I remember the first time someone called me fat. It was in year 1, so I think that's kindergarten in the States. During my ballet class, strangely enough, this child was expressing something that their mother had said about me, which was that I had fat thighs. To think that someone's mom would say that to their kid at home about one of their classmates is just beyond me. And I do have thick thighs, so thanks to that lady. But obviously, being 5 or 6, I internalized that as a terrible thing. I remember going home to my mom and crying. I'm pretty sure she had a discussion with said person's mother about that comment. I also remember being called fat by the boy that I had a crush on in 4th grade at school. He didn't say it to my face, I just overheard him saying it to a friend, and I remember crying on the bus ride home. Yes, jail. The police are coming to get you now, Josh. Despite having pretty short limbs and a short stature and a naturally muscular physique, I would say, I still spent most of my life hyper-focused on trying to be as tiny as I possibly could. This would obviously lead to me under-eating or eating at really strange times of the day and trying to fast when I was 13 years old. That then led to binge eating. My weight's definitely fluctuated throughout my life because of those not very healthy eating patterns. I am so sorry if the framing has slightly changed. My camera was getting overheated, so I had to put it in a cold room for a little while. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Essentially, none of the disordered eating that I was doing was healthy, obviously. It made my emotional outbursts way worse because my hormones were all over the place. And none of that really changed until my sense of deservedness evolved. And again, this all takes a lot of time. Having healthier relationships with people as well, meant that I could have a healthier relationship with my body. Now I love weightlifting, trying to be as strong as possible instead of as small as possible, nourishing my body with healthy foods. I'm not afraid to have difficult conversations now in my relationships, both with friends and family and my partner. And I think this is the healthiest and most me I've ever felt. There are, of course, so many moments when putting others' needs before your own makes sense, or when you're gonna have to prioritize other people. And there will, of course, be moments when you're not treating your body the best that you maybe should be doing. But it should always come back to equilibrium. The third thing that I would tell my 15-year-old self is to find joy in solitude. And actually, this is something that I have always been pretty good at. I love being alone, and I can entertain myself really easily. I am a naturally introverted person. It wasn't until I took a gap year and traveled around Southeast Asia by myself for 6 months that I truly understood what being alone was. And I am not saying that everyone needs to do this. It was definitely something that was outside of my comfort zone. It's also a time when you can really be selfish. Going back to the equilibrium before, I was really burnt out after uni. I had a part-time job to fund this travel. I was president of the society that I was a part of at uni. I was obviously doing my law degree. I was volunteering part-time at a free legal advice clinic as well. So I had so much going on, as well as trying to, do fun things with my partner and see my friends. Yeah, it was a lot, and I was really, really burnt out after my final year of uni. So just having a small period of time when I didn't have to think of anyone else was so revolutionary for me, and I had a blast. Obviously, it's not meant to last forever, and I ran out of funds after the 6 months, but yeah, it's honestly one of the best things I've ever done. And it's not like I was alone when I was solo traveling. You meet so many people. Oftentimes I would meet someone at breakfast in the hostel I was staying at. We would spend the whole day together, and then either they or I would go off to the next destination, and I would never see that person again. In fact, I don't think I've truly kept in contact with anyone who I met over my travels. I do have some people on Instagram still, but I haven't met up with anyone. But there's something really nice about having memories with strangers that are just mine to look back on. I don't know, there's something really whimsical and magical about it, actually. Case in point, I was in Vietnam. Oh, I'm gonna butcher this pronunciation. Phong Nha Ke Bang National Park, I think. The one with all of the massive cave structures there. I met this Dutch guy that morning, and he was like, yo, do you want to go to this waterfall? And I was like, sure. And so we took our mopeds, but we ended up going the wrong way. I think there was like a really kind of easy path to walk down to the waterfall, but we ended up kind of walking through a forest that was really steep. So you were basically like sliding down a cliff, trying to avoid like knocking yourself out by like falling into a tree. I genuinely at one point thought, this Dutch guy's gonna have to repatriate my dead body back to the UK, and it's gonna ruin his trip. But we did make it down to the waterfall. It was really beautiful. It was also so hot that day. And just as we were approaching it, all of these monks suddenly appeared from nowhere in their orange robes, and they started swimming in the pool and the waterfall too, and it was just so beautiful and magical. Yeah, it's just a memory that I have for myself, and I love being able to look back on little snippets like that. I had so much time to think and feel and plan and fantasize, and it was actually on this trip where I started to feel in my gut that starting my career in corporate law, I had already had my job lined up before I went traveling. Starting my corporate law career was maybe going to be a bad idea. I didn't listen to my gut at the time, but I was also so inspired, and I kind of developed the genesis for an album EP project that I'm working on at the moment. So yeah, I'm super grateful for that time. I think if I could sum up this lesson for Ali, you will be the only constant in your entire life, and so your happiness and validation needs to come from within. It can't come from anyone else. And the more happy and validated you feel within yourself, the more you are able to help those you love around you. And you can't rely on those people to fill your own cup when your well is empty. It just doesn't work like that. Speaking of empty cups, lesson 4, you will fail, but I promise you will be okay. I've talked before on this channel about how my biggest fear in life is failure or looking stupid, and that is the thing that has held me back from achieving the things that I actually want to do. I'm not entirely sure where this fear first came from. I do have a very distinct memory of my parents having a house party and my dad holding me in his arms. Somebody at the party asked, or I thought asked, "How old are you?" And I lifted my fingers up. I was 3. And then the person chuckled and said, "Oh, no, not how old are you, how are you?" And I burst into tears because I got the question wrong. Crazy. I had internalized getting something wrong as shameful at such a young age. As a result, I think for most of my life, I've been pretty risk averse, classic lawyer territory. And I've not really chased after the things that I really, truly wanted. I've gone after the things that I know I could do or know that I was capable of, and also the things that felt impressive to other people. I was only about 4 months into my traineeship, which is something in the UK that you need to do before you become a corporate solicitor. And I knew deep down that this wasn't the career for me. I remember being in the thick of like a really, truly awful deal, like 19-hour-a-day kind of stuff. And the partner, he was such a lovely man, he was explaining to me that he didn't think he was more important than anybody else in the team. And I remember he said, "Aliana, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow morning, I would just expect everyone to be able to get on with their work." You know, implying that he didn't need to be around for things to be done. My camera is overheating. I'll be right back. Back from cooling my camera down again. Let me just check the mic is on. Oh yeah. Right, so I was saying that the partner was trying to explain to me that he didn't view himself as any more important than anyone else in the team. And instead of listening to what he was actually saying, I remember thinking, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, I wouldn't have to come into work. In all seriousness, I should have taken the fact that I would have rather hurt my body than show up to the office as more of a sign. And it wasn't until I sustained an injury at a workout class and was forced to take a couple of months out because I couldn't move my body that I then decided, okay, now is the time to leave. I was so desperately unhappy and depressed, but I agonized over the decision for months because I felt like I had failed at the one thing that I had worked for so many years. You know, if I couldn't hack being a corporate lawyer, then what could I do? Looking back, I'm so grateful that I made that decision. People ask me all the time, "Oh, do you want to go back?" Absolutely not. And not a single person has told me that I've made the wrong decision, because that was my decision to make, and it's my life, and I get to live it in the way that I choose to. And even if they think that I've made a wrong decision, or that I'm dumb, or that I screwed up, or that I'll regret that choice, I'm finally comfortable enough within myself to say, who cares? Oh no, a little baby is crying. They think I've made the wrong decision. I now place so much more value on who I am as a person and how I make others feel, as opposed to what my job title is and how much money I make. At the end of the day, I really think those things are far more insignificant than we give them credit for. Here is a lesson that I'm still learning, and that is plan less, do more. And this is directly linked to my fear of failure. I absolutely love to plan, and then I absolutely do not follow through on those plans. I have so many interests and things that I want to experience and enjoy and achieve. And at the beginning of the year, I would set myself these massive goal lists, 30 items long, and then inevitably be really disappointed at myself at the end of the year when I hadn't accomplished them all. I also get a massive rush of satisfaction and dopamine from planning, cute mood boards, lots of color coordination, and my fear of failure would prevent me from actually acting on those plans, which is the crucial part of achieving anything. If you don't try, you don't fail. For example, last year I set myself the challenge of writing a song for each month of the year and posting it on YouTube. Did I do that? No. I think I managed about 7 of the 12. So I still wrote 7 new songs, but I didn't reach my goal, and that just made me feel like shit. Some other things which I didn't achieve last year include reading 30 books, picking up tennis lessons, taking dance classes again, reaching 1,000 subscribers on this channel, and getting a pull-up in the gym. That's not to say I didn't achieve some of my goals last year, but I was so focused on trying to juggle 20 different things at once that I didn't really make any meaningful progress on most of them. So 15-year-old Allie, who has engaged in this form of self-sabotage her whole life, here is to 30-year-old Allie. Hopefully this year is a year of far less, but a year of doing the damn thing. Whew. Oh my gosh, it is still sweltering, but thank you so much for letting me get that off my chest. It feels so good. And I've got my birthday party in a few days, and then I turn 30 in a few days, and I'm so excited. Now that we're halfway through the year of 2025, I would love to know what lessons this year has brought you so far and what you have to look forward to. There are, to put it mildly, some unspeakably horrible things happening in the world right now, and the last 5-10 years actually maybe felt quite scary, but I'm still cautiously optimistic about the future, and I am really looking forward to the things that I have coming up. One of which is starting to plan marrying my best friend. I got engaged last month, which is so exciting, and I also have a really exciting creative project in the works, which I am hopefully going to follow through on. In fact, I'm determined to follow through on. In case this is your first introduction to my channel, firstly, thank you so much for making it all the way through this video and listening to me yap for like half an hour. Secondly, I post lots of original songs and covers on this channel and also over on Instagram and TikTok. Please feel free to give me a follow on one of those platforms. I would love to have you along on this journey with me. And I would also love if you could check out my music too. I have an EP and a single out on Spotify, and I'm hoping for some more things to come out within my 30th year, ? I am gonna go enjoy the rest of this sunshine. I hope you are having a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Thank you so much for watching this. Take care, and I hope to see you soon. Bye!